This is a table that I found again in my mother's basement. I found several things in my mother's basement, and this is just one of the projects that I found. This is just a simple little corner table. It's actually made out of particle board and it has some kind of a veneer on the top. I sanded all of the finish off, so now I'm down to just the top of the veneer, no finish on it at all. And I purchased a Silhouette Cameo, and I'm trying to find ways to use my Silhouette Cameo. And I'm trying this. This is kind of a reverse of what most videos you see using the Cameo are doing. I sanded this all down to the wood. I then cut out my decal, what I want on there, out of the vinyl. I tried using contact paper. Disaster. So I'm using the vinyl. I followed all the instructions for how to get it on there so that it was centered and well adhered. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray the top of this table white. And once I've got a couple of coats of spray paint on it, I'm going to peel the letters off, and I should have, hopefully I will have, my decal with a wood finish. So it will be the color of the wood and everything around it will be white. So it'll be very subtle. It won't be jumping out at you as if I painted it in black like a lot of the signs are today. This is going to be a very subtle finish. So I'm going to take it now to the painting booth. I'm going to spray a couple of coats of spray paint on it and come back and peel off the letters, and we'll see what we have. This is a cute little cabinet that I found in my mother's basement, and I am going to try to convert it into a little bench that I can put in her bathroom so that she has something to sit on and some place to put her reading material while she's in the bathroom. So the first thing I did with this was I took the doors off, took all the hardware off, I sanded everything down, I puttied a few of the holes because this is plywood, and I put a quick primer on the pieces that needed to be primed. And now I'm going to start by making the top, the part that I will attach a cushion to. I'm going to stand this up and slide it back. To do that, I cut a piece of plywood and I purchased these little cute little doodads. I'm not quite sure what these things are called, but I use them a lot. They've got these little prongs on them, as you can see, and this little thread thing here so that when you put the screw in there, you can screw it right on. And if I screw this up from the bottom, I can draw it down and I can pull the cover right down tight onto the top of my cabinet to make my seat. Now, I did take a 3/4 inch drill bit and I drilled this down just a little bit through maybe one layer of the plywood, and then I drilled the rest of the hole all the way through so that I can put this in, and when I pound it down in, it'll be flush with the top of the plywood. I then put corresponding holes in the top of the cabinet so that when I set this on, I can just go up from underneath with my little screws and I can screw them in place. I'm just going to remove these and I'm going to pound that one in to show you how easy this is. Set these off to the side. Gotta find my hammer. And now my hole is drilled. I've gone down in a little bit so that when I pound this in, it should come out flush. perfect. And now when I line it up on the top of my cabinet, I will be able to screw the top of this down. Now I don't want to glue this on because I want to be able to take it off so that I can put my cushion on it. So right now I just want to put it on here. And I wrote cushion on here so that I knew which side was the top. And this is the side that these plugs go into so that I can screw up from underneath. So now if I just come up underneath through the hole that I've drilled, see the hole, you can see the holes that I've drilled here. I can just screw this top right on. And once it's upholstered, I can do the same thing. I'll be able to get it on there quite nicely. There's one. I'm going to lay this outside so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. And that will screw right up in there nicely. And I will do all four. Right now I'm just going to do a loose fit. So using those, I'm able to screw the top on. And once I've upholstered this, I'll be able to put it back on permanently. And if my mother doesn't like what I put on there for upholstery, I can always change it. Or she can change it as she changes her colors in her bathroom. Now, the only problem with this now is that it's not very stable, and I don't want my mother sitting on it and falling over. It's also not very tall, and I want this to be chair height, or so that she just has to sit on it without having to try to get up and down off of it. So I'm going to put a base on it. Now to do that, so to make the legs, I cut these 2 pieces of lumber, and as you can see, these are pretty beat up. This is all scrap lumber. I rarely use anything new. Putty and paint cover everything. I then cut 2 legs, or 2 support pieces for the bottom, and I've only got the points on the front. The back is going to stay flush, and I will be able to just screw this right to the wall so that it will not move. But I just wanted to give it a little more support in the front, help keep it a little more stable. So what I'm going to do now, these are all pre-drilled multiple times, is I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the edge. Like this. Then I'm going to set this on here like this. And I'm going to take my 1 3/4 inch screws, and I'm going to attach this. Make sure I got my everything lined up. I guess I need to move this in. Okay, so I've got my legs here on the bottom. I've got my board on the top. Everything has been pre-drilled. I put a little glue on there. And I'm just going to glue that in. I'll put one on that end to start. Put some glue on this. Put this one on here. Line up my edges. And there we go. It goes right down into the hole I had pre-drilled. I can now finish up by putting these into the rest of the holes. As you can see, the board was not wide enough, and this isn't going to show anyway. This is on the bottom, so I just cut another piece. I made it the right width, and if you can see, I don't know if you can or not, there's a B here and an A there. I wanted to make sure that when I put this back together that I had the right ends lined up with the right ends. One there. And one here. And I seem to have run out of the long screws, so I'll just use a couple of the shorter ones. Okay. Now that I've got my base done, I can bring the cabinet back up and do this way. All right, so here's the base with the little feet on it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some glue on here. And like I said, you'll see now that this isn't going to show at all. This is all going to be hidden, so all this banged up wood came off of some project isn't going to matter. And now I'm just going to lay it up against this here. I'm going to line up my edges, and I'm going to put a little bit of a clamp on them. And once again, I'm going to take my screws. This time I'm using shorter screws because I don't want them to pop through the top. And again, I've pre-drilled. So I'm just going to now screw this together. Nice and tight. Okay, well, as you can see, I didn't have my drill lined up quite right for that one. There we go. Bottom's on. Now, I did not like the way this edge looked. So once again, I went rummaging through my scraps and I found this trim. And I cut it. And I'm going to glue it on here. Now, I need to make sure that when I do that, I leave enough room for my doors. So my doors are going to fit in here like this. I need to make sure that the trim pieces are down far enough that they're not going to interfere with my door. And now I'm just going to throw a couple of staples in that, and I'm going to paint it, and that'll be done. And I will come back with the finished product and show you what it looks like. Thank you for watching. All right, now I'm going to show you how I'm going to cover the cushion to put on that cute little bench that I'm making for my mother's bathroom. This is the piece of plywood that I had cut, and the screws are in it where they need to be. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you know which is going to be the underside and which is going to be the upside, which side you got to put the cushion on. You don't want to upholster the wrong side once you put those little nuts in there. By the way, those nuts are called T-nuts. T-E-E-N-U-T-S. T-nuts. Now, I bought this piece of fabric at Walmart. Got a little lint on my cover here. It's a Waverly fabric. 1 yard. I think it was $4 and something. And it's the perfect color to go in my mother's bathroom. The walls or the tile is gray. She's going to paint the walls a light blue, and she bought a blue shower curtain. So this is going to work perfectly. So I cut a piece of fabric considerably larger than my plywood. I also cut a piece of this cotton, it's imitation cotton cover. I cut a piece of quilt batting, pretty much the size of the plywood. This is pretty much the size. The cotton batting's a little bit bigger. And for the cushion, this is carpet padding. And you can buy this at any place that sells carpet. You can buy carpet padding. This is a piece that was left over from carpet that we laid down ourselves, or it was underneath an area rug. And I always save my scraps, and they come in handy for projects like this. I cut 2 pieces of it so it's double thick, and I cut it the same size as my plywood. I then use my spray glue. I love spray glue. And I adhered the foam to the plywood, and then I adhered the second piece to the top of the first piece. And I also kept, you can see that there's a mesh. This kind of holds everything together. I have the mesh on the top because this is where it's going to be rubbing when people sit on it. And I also put the mesh glued face down onto the plywood, where if there is any shifting, that mesh will help hold it all together. All right, now I'm going to put my quilt batting on top. Quilt batting collects all kinds of wonderful scrap pieces or whatever happens to be laying around. Put that on there. Then I'm going to put my cotton batting on top of that. Again, I got all kinds of lint on it. It's been sitting over in the corner, but that's okay. As long as it's not dirt, it's all right. And this, like I say, should be a little bit bigger. You want it to, so that when you turn it under, it's going to actually cover that plywood edge. So there's a little bit of protection on that plywood edge. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then you're going to take your fabric, which you've cut larger, and you're going to put it on top. Now this, unfortunately, is a plaid or a patterned piece. So I'm going to want to make sure that when I put this on, I line up my stripes, my straight lines. And I'm going to start with the front, which is this edge here. I did round the front edges. I didn't want my mother banging into it and hurting herself, so I did round off those front edges. So this here is going to just come up and just cover it like that. And if you want to, I use an air compressed gun. Just throw a couple staples in just to hold it in place so it's not moving around on you. And there goes my dog. Now I didn't worry too much about the back because, like I say, the back of this is going to be going up against the wall. I am going to pull it up here and throw in a couple staples. Just to make sure it's in place. All right, now you want to maybe trim off your corners. You don't want all that bulk in there. All right, now I'm going to start with the front edge. I got to get my piece on here straight because, like I say, with these lines, I want to make sure I've got it on there straight. Also, make sure you've got plenty of extra fabric. Don't chimp out on the excess fabric. I'm going to move this down a little bit this way. So when I pull up my edges, that's pretty good. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to staple it. It's snowing outside. I do believe the snow plow driver has just arrived to plow out our driveway, and that's why she's going a little crazy up there. Trying to keep my lines straight. While I do this, just give it a little tug. You don't want to stretch it too much. Just keep these nice right along the edge, straight as I can keep them. All right, that's a good start. Try doing this with a handheld staple gun. Very difficult to do. Staples just do not go in. Much easier with an air compressor. All right, now I'm going to give it a little bit of a tug. Again, trying to keep my lines straight. If this didn't have this pattern on it, you could just staple it down, but I really want to keep my lines nice and straight. This one's pulling a little tight, a little tighter than I would have liked it. And if that happens, you just take it out, put in another one. edge. Just turn it around and pull it up. Flip it around, do the other end. And hopefully this edge and that edge, my patterns are about the same. All right, now that you've got it down, you want to go back because as you can see, this looks like it's kind of ripply. And I do not like that one staple in there. I am going to have to take that one out. This is the back edge. This is the front edge. Now I want to make sure that I get enough staples in here that I don't have this puckering along here, this ripple look. So I'm going to get them nice and flat. Put in enough staples to eliminate that problem. Okay, now corners. All right, now we're gonna do the corners. Corners are always the trickiest part, but if you know how to do them, they're not all that difficult. What you want to do is you want to bring these two pieces together and kind of pinch it. And then put a staple on this side and put a staple on this side to kind of hold them there. All right, and now all you're going to do is you're just going to take this and open it up, get it even, open it up, and you're going to pull it up and over. And that will give you a nice little corner. Can you see that corner? It's a nice little corner. Okay, so you're going to pinch these together, and then you're going to find the center, and you're going to fold it up, and you're going to staple it down. And that's it. One corner done. Do the same thing on this end. I'm going to roll it over. I'm going to throw a staple in here. Now, you don't want staples that don't go all the way in, because that makes it very difficult to screw the top down, because you've got this metal piece sticking up. This one did not go in, therefore I'm taking it out. They go in a lot easier than they come out. Not quite sure why it didn't go in. We'll try it again. There we go. That one's in. I'm going to fold it over. I'm going to put another one in on this side. Okay. And now I'm going to pull it out. Find center, which is right here. And I'm going to pull it up. This one's not. I want to make sure that they look the same on both ends. All right, so now that I've got it pulled up and over, I'm going to throw a staple in it. And it looks pretty good. There's my nice rounded quarter on my front. I checked my edge, and my stripe seems to be running fairly straight across the front. Now we'll do the back corners. I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. I'm going to pull them up. I'm going to throw a staple in on either side. One here. One here. And then I'm going to find the center, pull it out to the corner, and I'm going to pull it back. You might have to fuddle with it a little bit to get it right. There, that's good. Okay. And throw in a staple. You can then cut away some of this excess fabric, because again, this is extra bulk on the bottom that you don't want when you're trying to screw this back onto the top. All right, the other thing you need to be careful of too is not to cover over your screw holes with your fabric. Make sure you cut out around those screw holes. Otherwise, once again, you won't be able to get this on. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to pull it over and throw in a staple. I'm going to throw it over and put in a staple. And now I'm just going to fiddle with it until I get the fabric to fold the way I want it to. That one went pretty good. Okay. And there we have it. It's all upholstered. Again, I got fuzzies on my tabletop. But there's my cushion. Now all I have to do is attach it to the little cabinet, and my mom will have a nice little bathroom seat to sit on when she's getting in and out of the shower. All right, I will bring it back to you when I've attached it to the cabinet.